Rama Shafi decided to reconstruct her life after suffering from domestic violence by returning to school and studying journalism.
It occurred really with my second husband. We were in a heated marital dispute, and it had happened. And so, of course, I had to get law enforcement involved, and which was the right thing to do. But unfortunately, at the time, as I said, I was married, so there was a brief time of separation after the incident. But then we reconciled, and so, it was very difficult for me to leave at the time. But eventually, I did. So.
Just like Rama, thousands of women suffer from domestic violence. More than 400,000 women have suffered from different degrees of physical spousal violence. Only 1 in 5 victims report the abuse.
At the time it happened, I was pregnant with my second, so it was even more disturbing and traumatic. However, it was so difficult to leave, not only just for the children, but because unfortunately, I loved him at the time. This was my husband, and I was determined to make the marriage work and wasn't going to let an incident like domestic violence, as absurd as it sounds now, to stop me from making the marriage work. I wasn't willing to leave, and I wasn't ready to leave at the time.
During the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, cases of domestic violence rose significantly, but that did not stop organizations like Shelter Movers to help those in need.
We were deemed an essential service, so we were operating all throughout the pandemic, and we saw a significant increase for demand for our services, about 111% actually here within SMGT alone. And that has continued to grow and sustain. We definitely have not seen a dip in requiring our services at all since the restrictions and lockdowns have stopped.
Domestic violence is capable of impacting negatively the lives of the victims and their families.
It's important to note that gender-based violence is really a community issue. It doesn't discriminate against, like you said, race, ethnicity, culture, socioeconomic status. And I think it's incredibly important that we all recognize the long-term impacts that it can have on the individuals. And so we are always looking for individuals who are looking to support Shelter Movers.
I think domestic violence, I don't think can be, unfortunately, it's going to be a long time before we can completely eradicate it. This is an issue that affects men and women.
Rama was able to use her experience to enrich her journalism.
I think that going through that experience has really humanized me, to tell in telling stories about people and touchy subjects like domestic violence. As a journalist, we're entrusted to tell stories of people, vulnerable people, and so because I went through it, it obviously touches me on a very deep level. I know what that's like to be on the other end of that hand. I know what it's like to feel helpless, and so now as a journalist, when I am reporting or covering on vulnerable people such as women who go through abuse, I'm hopefully able to treat those stories with sensitivity and compassion and respect, and not necessarily to victimize them further by telling their stories in a way that is not beneficial to them, but telling them their stories in an empowered way.
This is Maria Jose Lopez for Say News.